Running a smart home can be a lot of fun, but it can also be very expensive. So today I'm going to be testing out a few smart home products from TEMU to see, firstly, if they work, but also to see if they can save you money whenever you add something new to your smart home. The first TEMU product I want to test is this FingerBot. This is basically just a knockoff of the SwitchBot button presser. The idea behind it is to add smart capability to things that otherwise would not be able to be controlled via Wi-Fi. And it does so by using a motor and a little arm to physically press switches and buttons that normally you'd have to press yourself. The reason that I wanted this device specifically is that my apartment has some light switches in some pretty weird places. So like, for example, in my kitchen, there are 3 main light switches. However, they're not all on the same spot. So the overhead lights and pendant lights are at the light switches right at the front door, so you can turn them on when you walk in. But the under cabinet lights have to be turned on by a switch that's kind of hidden away under the cabinets and to the left of the fridge. It's not an easy way to turn on or off the lights, at least in my opinion. So I wanted a way to automate that light and control it with my phone without having to actually change the whole light switch, which I can't do because, again, this is a rental. Now, we have these lights on day or night pretty much all of the time, just as ambient light, but there are certain times where we want to turn them off. So I'm going to be using the FingerBot to turn this light switch off whenever we want to do so. Installation on this one is extremely simple. It's really just as simple as taking out a little plastic tab that covers the batteries, downloading the Tuya Smart Life app. I didn't even have to press the plus sign to add a new device. It automatically detected that I had a new device, so I added it from there. After adding it to the app, controlling the FingerBot is literally as simple as pressing a button to toggle it. There are also a few settings that you can tweak in the app too that make this a lot more versatile of a device, because it allows you to control how long it presses down for and whether or not you want it to tap and release or tap and hold. So if you take my light switch, for example, when I originally put the FingerBot on and toggled it, it definitely worked, but it was actually trying to press the arm down too far to the point where it was pushing itself back off of the wall. So I adjusted the setting all the way down to where the arm only goes down 50%. Now all it does is toggle the light switch, and it does not keep pushing once it does so. And as with pretty much any other smart device, this one can also be automated in the Smart Life app. So if you want to turn the lights off every day at 6 p.m., for example, it's an easy way to do so. Now, obviously, a light switch is not the only use case for a device like this. There's lots of different ways you can use it, pretty much for anything that has a mechanical button that you want to be pressed. I tried to test this on my coffee maker, but unfortunately, due to the way that switch is shaped, it didn't really work. And honestly, I don't have much in my apartment that needs to be physically pressed by a FingerBot like this to automate it. The only other device I could really use this on is my soundbar here. For whatever reason recently, I've been having issues with it not connecting or being controlled by the remote properly, so I usually have to get up and turn it on manually by pressing the button. With the FingerBot, I no longer have to do that. I can have it press the button for me so I can stay seated on the couch. I honestly am really pleased with this device. It worked just as it was supposed to, and I did not run into any issues with it. I really do like the Tuya Smart Life platform as well. The app is very well built, which can't be said for all TEMU products, and it does have the integration with third-party services too. So if you already have a Smart Life account, you can have it connected to Google and Amazon. And the fact that this TEMU device is $10 cheaper than the name brand does mean that it makes it a little bit more accessible, especially if you need multiple devices. This should make it a lot easier to afford adding this to your smart home. The next TEMU product is this Bluetooth smart LED light bulb. This thing is RGB enabled, so you can do a whole range of different colors and different white temperatures ranging from 3000 to 6000 Kelvin. Smart bulbs are one of, if not the most common things to add in a smart home, but because of the fact that we have so many light bulbs in our houses, this is one of the things that can get very expensive if you try to change out all of them. Let's open this and take a look at it. As you might expect, installation on a light bulb is fairly simple. The only thing I would note is that once you screw it in, it didn't seem to automatically put itself in the pairing mode because I was not able to add it to the Smart Life platform just after screwing it in. What you have to do is turn your light fixture on and off about 5 times. The light will then start blinking to indicate it's in pairing mode, and from there the Smart Life app detected it automatically just like the FingerBot, and I added it with ease. So as you can see, I mean, it is very simple to control this light bulb. You have a very simple interface that you can use to change the colors, use the slider to adjust it to whatever color you want, or use preset colors too. There are different scenes you can enable where it flashes between different colors automatically as well. Brightness obviously ranges from 0 to 100, just like with any other smart bulb. And actually, I did compare this bulb to what I have existing in my house right now, which are Wise color bulbs. So just as a point of comparison, name brand versus TEMU brand, really, to be honest with you, I didn't see much difference in them. They both had pretty versatile brightness and dimness. The colors were very saturated even on the TEMU bulb. And again, being that it's a Tuya smart device, you also have easy integration with Alexa and other third-party services. The downside to this TEMU bulb, which I noticed was a lot better on the name brand Wise bulb, is the color accuracy. So again, it does have some pretty saturated colors, and you can do it a whole rainbow basically when you're choosing a color. However, I did notice that with this bulb, for whatever reason, it struggles to get accuracy on the color yellow. Whenever I would adjust it to the color yellow, it really would just stay a tinge of green. It never got to a full yellow color, which the Wise bulb did. I didn't really notice this issue with any other colors. Red, green, blue, purple, pink, pretty much all worked as intended, but the yellow color is something to keep in mind. If you ever want to use that, it's not really accurate. But if you can get past that fact, the pricing between these two is a significant difference. This is a standard size light bulb in the US, and for a little over $3 versus $11.50, I think this one's a no-brainer to use. The TEMU bulb is absolutely going to have a win here. The next product from TEMU is a smart door sensor. These again are very common in smart homes because it's one of the easiest way to trigger automations whenever a door opens or closes. They're also very common to be used with alarm systems and again can be costly for the same reason. Now this sensor is Wi-Fi enabled and it's on the Tuya Smart Life platform. Let's see if this thing works. So as you might expect with the door sensor, it's pretty straightforward. As we've seen with the previous products, adding it to the Tuya Smart Life app is very simple, and installation is very simple too. With the included sticky tape, just stick it onto the wall wherever you want it. Now, to be honest, I did not have the best experience installing this one. I did put it up originally on the wall, just kind of how I've done door sensors in the past from other brands. The sensor itself was probably less than an inch away from the magnet, but after I stuck everything down, I noticed that the app was not registering when I opened and closed the door. So I ended up having to take it off and then reinstall them a lot closer together than I anticipated. So I would keep that in mind. Luckily in my case, for my patio door, I was able to get them very close together. That is not the case with all doors. So if you have an installation that might require them to be further apart, this may not work. Now once it was installed, it worked perfectly as expected. It let me know when the door was open and closed. It keeps a log of whenever it does open or close. And again, as with everything, you can use it to trigger automations. So if you have an alarm system that you want to go off whenever the door opens after you set it, you can do so. You can have it trigger to turn your lights on whenever you open that door and enter a room. Or really, to be honest, any sort of automation you can come up with whenever a door is opened. This will be a good way to do it. So I really don't have any major complaints with this one, other than the fact that they do have to be pretty close together in order for it to work properly. But if you're able to work past that, or if you have a door that might allow for that installation, this can absolutely save you money, because I paid $5.98 for this sensor, as compared to the most popular one that I've seen by far is the Ring door sensor, which comes in at $19.99. Our next TEMU product is a smart motion sensor. This has very similar capabilities to what the door sensors do, but is a little bit more versatile because you can pretty much put these wherever you want to and trigger automations whenever motion is detected by the device. Let's check this one out. This one has probably the easiest install of all of them because you can simply place it down on a shelf or a table, or if you want to, you can use the included sticky tape to mount it to a surface too. Now, after testing this for the last week or so, I would definitely say this is a pretty solid motion sensor. I was very impressed by the range it has in being able to detect motion. And I would say this is even more versatile than a door sensor is as far as being able to use it in automations, because you're not restricted to a door being the trigger. You can have it set really wherever you want it to that might detect motion. For my apartment, I thought this would be best fit in my hallway. Now, obviously there's not even a door that comes in from the front of the hallway, so I wouldn't be able to use a door sensor here anyway. And even if I wanted to include it on the 4 main doors that lead into it from the bedrooms, it still would be a lot more costly than just adding one motion sensor that can detect motion from all of those areas. I tested this from each one of the doors in this hallway and from the very entrance of the hallway to see where it would stop detecting me, and I was very impressed by it. Obviously, when I was 1 or 2 feet away from it, from the doors that were closest to it, it worked great. It also worked great from the second set of doors too. But what I was most impressed by was that it was able to detect me all the way to my kitchen countertop, which is exactly where I wanted the lights to be toggled if I was entering into the hallway. Now I measured from the end of this hallway where the motion sensor is all the way to the other wall across, and it was about 30 feet in distance. This motion sensor was able to detect around 25 feet to the countertop, maybe a little bit more, which I was very impressed by and worked perfectly for what I was using it for. So to be honest, even though I would say that's a good thing, it could also be skewed as a bad thing if it's a little bit too sensitive of a motion sensor, because you don't always necessarily want it to pick up as far as a distance as this is able to. My solution to that though was I actually installed the motion sensor using the sticky tape up on a recessed spot in the ceiling that was a little bit lower than the very top, and this made it a lot easier for it to detect motion just from the back 2 doorways. The motion sensor picks up that we're opening the door and entering the hallway, and I can actually use the finger bot to toggle the light switch right there to turn the lights on so we don't have to turn them on ourselves. The only issue I could really come up with for this one was actually with the Tuya Smart Life app. The language used in the app was kind of weird and confusing. I'm assuming just because it wasn't translated very well. And what I mean by that is if you turn on the app notifications for your phone to be alerted whenever there's motion from this sensor, it doesn't say motion detected, it says some motion, which obviously you can figure out what that means without having to change anything, but I did find it kind of frustrating that I wasn't able to change what the notification says to correct it, so it was a little easier to understand. Now the price on this motion sensor was very hard to beat too. It was only $8.98. For comparison, a name brand Aqara motion sensor is $20.49. Our last TEMU product, and probably the one I'm most excited to try, is this smart door lock. So fingers crossed, let's see if this works. We're going to be putting this on our office door here in the apartment. My wife and I both share this office and we always have lights and everything set up. It's not really a safe environment for our kids. However, they love to come in here. So we wanted to put a fingerprint lock on our door so that we can know that it's locked at all times, but also not have to fiddle with trying to find a key whenever we need to get in. So for installation on this door handle, to be honest with you, the instructions that came in the box were pretty much useless. I could not figure out what they were trying to say. There were some diagrams, but it was mostly just written text, and it did not seem like it was translated very well to English. So I pretty much just had to look at all the parts that I had and kind of figure out how to do it myself. If you have ever changed a door handle before, which I've done plenty of times, this shouldn't be too hard, especially because you're gonna have to uninstall your old one anyway before you put the new one in. And while you're doing that, it does give you a good idea of what it looks like when you put it back on. The only thing that you'll want to make sure you do when you're adding the new one after taking off the old one is you do have to plug in a cord that strings from the part of the handle outside the door, through the door, and then through the handle on the inside. And the handle on the inside will be what houses the 4 AAA batteries that are not included that you also have to add. Now there is a USB-C charging port on the handle on the outside where the fingerprint sensor is. That is just so you can charge it up and in case it runs out of battery so you can still use the door as you're supposed to. And it also does come with a key, just in case you need to override it for whatever reason. You can also use a key. It is not going to be just a fingerprint that unlocks it. The way this handle works is pretty cool. So on the inside of the room, you can open and close the door just like a normal door handle would. But on the outside, when the door is closed, the handle will move, but it doesn't actually engage with the mechanism, so it doesn't actually open the door. Once you scan an authorized fingerprint on the outside, you'll hear a little motor whirring as it engages with the mechanism, and then it stays engaged for about 3 seconds. This device allows up to 100 fingerprints to be stored on it. The first 3 that you add are considered admins, basically meaning that only those 3 fingerprints will have the ability to add other ones after that. And the way to add a fingerprint is super easy. You take the included screwdriver in the box, you press the Learn button, which is that little tiny inset button that's on the inside of the door handle, and once the outside indicator light flashes, you're going to put your finger on that fingerprint sensor 5 separate times in order for it to learn it. Now once it's learned it properly, it'll flash green, and then you can use that finger to unlock the door now. You just want to rinse and repeat this for any other fingerprints you add after that. So for me personally, I did both of my thumbs and my index finger. There are some instances where maybe I'm holding one of my sons or my hands are otherwise full and I need to use a different hand or even my index finger, so it is nice to have those options available. You can do different people too. So like I said, this is my wife and I's shared office. Her fingerprint is the only other one that's able to open that door. Another nice feature is that you can also have it set to operate like a normal door handle too. So if you press and hold the button on the inside of the door handle for 3 to 5 seconds, I'd say, the outside indicator will flash pink, and once it does so, you can let go, and then it'll flash green one more time and unlock it fully. Once you turn that mode on, it's going to be fully unlocked regardless of how many times you open or close the door. So if you don't want to have it locked at all times, that's an easy way to do it. And once you scan it with an authorized fingerprint, it'll go back to being locked after that. So yeah, overall, I've been very happy with this door handle. It works just how I wanted it to. So for me, the fact that this door handle was $20 cheaper than what I was able to get on Amazon makes it definitely worth the buy. So overall, after testing everything out, I think it's pretty safe to say that you can get a pretty well-working smart home on TEMU for a lot cheaper than you'd be able to on Amazon or any other traditional retailer. That, of course, does have its own downsides that you'll want to consider. They're not going to be as high quality, as well built, or have the best user experiences on the apps that you have to use to control them. And in case it's not obvious, this video is not sponsored in any way. TEMU is not paying me to tell you guys this. I just really enjoy finding the best deal on items like this, and I thought it would be a good thing to share for my audience to make sure that you guys know how to save the most amount of money you can. And I will have links for all of the products I mentioned in this video in the description below. So if you're interested in checking any of these out, I would very much appreciate you using my affiliate links. And while you're in the description, make sure you pause and subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you here. And if you did enjoy this video, I'm sure you'll love this one too. Thank you so much for watching.